Hey folks, this time we have a legend that's depicted here in our studio, something many of you have probably seen posted around the internet more than a few times in the past, though it seems to have died down in popularity of late. I'm talking about this thing, a picture of what seems to be a crucified Jesus, but with the name Orpehus Bacchus on it. The object this depicts is an artifact that was lost sometime in the early 20th century. Recently, though, it was featured on the cover of this book, Freakin' Gandhi's Jesus Mysteries. Now, what happened some years ago is that quite a few skeptics of the New Age persuasion, as well as Fundy Atheist, took this thing up as part of an argument that the story of Jesus was based on stolen pagan myths. As you'll see in the link in the vid description, there's an article by a friend of mine, the British historian James Hannam, demonstrating that this artifact was regarded as a forgery by leading experts in the early 20th century. Hannam presents 4 arguments against the authenticity of the artifact, and the one he regards as strongest is that the depiction of the crucified figure, with its legs bent the way it is, comes from the medieval period. That's pretty simple, and I think it settles it. But for the record, I ought to note an article by this lunatic named Francesco CAROTTA. CAROTTA is trained in philosophy and linguistics, but not in ancient artifacts or history, and he's put out a really wacky book titled Jesus was Caesar, in which he claims that Caesar was Jesus Christ. His article on the amulet isn't very impressive. In answering the point about the position of the legs, for example, he makes a number of questionable arguments about the perspective of the figure, that you'd find laughable if you read something as simple as drawing comics the Marvel way. But in the end it doesn't matter, because even CAROTTA doesn't try to date the artifact any earlier than the 2nd century, which means even with his views, there's no support for the idea of the story of Jesus being borrowed from pagan myths. So that's it. Pretty simple, huh? And we didn't even have time for...
Alright, Holden, that did it. I'm gonna lower the boom on you about Hitler being a Christian.
Almost made it.
Hey, what are we talking about here?